You're watching The Mic Check on every Monday afternoon at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Hello and welcome everybody to this week's post-Thanksgiving, post-Black Friday Mic Check. I hope you're all relaxed because I know this weekend was kind of crazy. And this is a good time to care for yourself, right? And we're moving into the season of caring for others. And in the spirit of caring, we've got a special script tonight all about caring, which Richard is going to kick us off on. So, Richard, whenever you're ready.
All right. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavioral modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD. And
Okay.
Dan's back, so Dan, go ahead.
I had to get my beer. All right.
No product placement.
It's hidden. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD. Joe.
Okay. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD. Frank?
Well, there is currently no cure for ADD. Treatment can... While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments can help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
And that leaves me.
Oh, no.
While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD. All right, so now we move to the discussion.
7-2-3-3.
We're going to do it numerically now too. Alrighty then. So let's talk about this a little bit. What did you all notice about the reads as we went through it?
That long sentence seems to catch a lot of people.
Yeah.
This generally requires, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
Yeah, I blew through some of the punctuation there. It was a mess for me. I didn't do it well.
I feel like there should be a little bit more punctuation, like the and other psychological or psychiatric treatment should even be in parentheses. like you have three things: behavior modification, educational assistance, medication. Those are your three. It almost seems like the psychological or psychiatric treatment is just in parentheses for the first one.
Yeah, because that has to do with the behavior modification. I agree. I think that's why I got messed up. Behavior modification and other psychological and psychiatric treatment. Then it's like, okay, now we got educational assistance. Yeah, I
And then
agree.
medication. Yeah.
Okay.
It didn't sound natural coming from anybody. I'm not even sure how it sounded coming from me either, but it didn't.
Oh, completely unnatural.
It sounded like what?
Yeah.
It was a Dan Reed. It was fine.
What?
It's definitely, it came across as like, for me, when I was reading it in my head, I'm going run on, run on, run on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, okay. Was there anything else?
I actually like the way some people, I think it was you, Michael, you hit on the last piece, suffers from ADD symptoms. Like that was, we were flowing from ADD to symptoms as it was all one thought. And I think I tripped on that and I said from ADD symptoms.
Yeah.
I don't think I was any different, Joe.
Yeah. So I think that's a important point to watch.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I noticed that was fairly common, and I tried to avoid it myself, was the very first sentence. A lot of people started strong on the first half and lost energy on the second half, when I think it needs to be the opposite. The reason being is that this is supposed to be, a resource for somebody who knows someone with ADD. This is supposed to be comforting. This is supposed to be reassuring. This is supposed to be caring. And a lot of people were really strong on the fact that while there is no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. When what you're trying to do is offer hope. While there is no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms.
Yeah. And you did that point counterpoint thing with cure and treatment too. So,
Mm-hmm. So I feel that if we're trying to establish this as a resource for somebody, it's important to let them know what you're trying to offer them. And I feel that many of the reads lost that at the very beginning.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, the directions even say should be read with compassion and reassurance. And if you're starting out like, hey, there is no cure for this, maybe you can get some treatment, but yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not trying to leave people with the idea of, hey, if you got ADD, I'm sorry, you're screwed. There's nothing we can do about it. And what we're trying to do is, while we can't necessarily 100% solve your problem, we can offer you a lot of help with what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on now to the markup portion, however you want to do that, I think it's important that you emphasize that treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Like, that's the hope. That's where you're trying to start with, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm on your side. So I would say read the first half of that sentence with more of a shrug or, yes, I understand, but we're going to the next part. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
We want to sell that last half.
Oh goodness, I lost you somewhere. I started zoning out.
Sorry, am I droning on?
No. It's my weak attention span.
Well, we've got a hotline here for you that'll definitely help you out.
I have called them before.
Oh,
They
yeah,
wanted to
okay.
give me drugs. No, I've got alcohol.
Well, anyway, so that's it. I think that's the most important part for the first sentence. Let's move on to the second. So with that in mind, we're trying to offer people hope. We're trying to give people some kind of, a reassurance here. How should we approach the second sentence?
I would say come off the same energy you came at the end of the first sentence to start it off that way. And then you just, like you said, shrug it. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels.
Okay.
like a little more enthusiastic about the modern treatments help those with ADD control, and then maybe come down a little bit as for the rest of it.
So put a little bit more emphasis on help and control.
Yeah.
So modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels.
Yeah.
Something kind of like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So a slight emphasis on both help and control. Again, we're trying to sell the positive here.
I know we're punching help 2 in a row, but it's the point. That's the whole purpose of this entire
We
copy.
want to help them. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say punch the next help,
Not
but definitely
punch,
give
you
it a
know what
little. Yeah, give it a little bit more energy than the
I
rest.
say punch,
Little-
but it's just I know the word. I just can't think of it right now.
That's fine. No. I think
My
we're
mind-
all on the same page, though. I think we really are all on the same page, anyways.
Mhm.
So on to the next one. Here's the long one. Let's talk about it. What should we do with it?
Well,
So-
in looking at this generally requires a combination of the following, and then basically you have the 3 with, as Joe was talking earlier, the parentheses in the middle. So it would be behavior modification, another psychological and psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. You could do the bonk, bonk, bonk with the 3, and the 1, if you put it in parentheses, I think that helps break that up and helps it make more sense, actually. I thought that was a
Okay.
good point, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically-
exactly what
So basically, in your mind, put a parentheses around an other psychological or psychiatric treatment. That's more of an aside, like a
Yes.
tack on.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's behavioral modification, and these are the things that covers, and these other 2 items.
So what about behavior modification and other treatment? Psychological or psychiatric could be the parentheses. Behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment.
Yeah, that's one. It's like one thought with the
Yeah.
premise. Yeah.
Well, the thing is so what if I'm understanding what you're saying, Dan? You want to put parentheses just around an other psychological or psychiatric?
No, just psychological or psychiatric, because it's still
Okay. So if we remove that, it'd be like
Other
behavioral
treatment.
modification and other treatment.
right.
But you're
Oh.
proposing behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I was just reading it in my head, not necessarily reading it out loud, but it sounded a little bit wrong when you read it that way.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're talking about when it comes to the parentheses. It's a little bit more of an aside, and I would be more on the side of putting the parentheses all the way
And
around
all of
and to treatment.
Yeah.
So behavior
So,
modification,
again, it
other
was-
psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. So the 3 main points would be behavior modification, educational assistance, and medication,
Yep.
with the aside being and other psychological or psychiatric treatment.
That
Yeah.
actually makes sense.
There you go.
I was
That's
just
about-
going through something that was another thought, not necessarily a
Yeah, because you could, if you had the copy person there and you were running long, they could actually take out psychological or psychiatric and still have
right.
Yeah, but I think that's in there for a very specific reason. Why do you think they would include so much information in this one sentence here? And introduce it in the way that they did?
We're here. They keep talking help and help. Like we say, we had help kind of twice, and this is we're not just telling you how these are the actual things we can do to help you.
hmm
That's how I'm looking at it.
So
We told
I'm
you we
looking
can
at
help, and this is how we do the help.
That's what the other thing that I'm noticing about that sentence is behavior modification comes. You also need the psychological or psychiatric treatment with the behavior modification. And then you can choose educational assistance and medication for the other combination. That's why I was trying to figure out how behavior modification and other treatment would, instead of,
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
what
sure. I'm sure if they were going to shorten it, like in the session, they would say just remove psychological or psychiatric, behavior modification, and other treatment.
yeah.
But what I feel is going on here.
So
What I feel is going on here is like, all right, so here's the reality check. This is what we have to do to help you with this issue. You
these
know?
are the steps that you're going to incur.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what you can expect when you come to us, so you're not surprised. You know, this generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. Like I think these main ones, the behavior modification, educational assistance, and medication, need to be highlighted so that when somebody who calls the ADD hotline is not going to be surprised by the fact that, hey, maybe we're going to have to get this person into some programs. Maybe we're going to have to get them into, certain educational regimens. Maybe we're going to have to prescribe them certain medications. But all of this is to help manage those symptoms. So this is almost the disclaimer, I feel, in the script. This is like, this is what we were going to have to do probably. If any of these are not your thing, I'm sorry. But this is sort of a backwards way of doing it.
That we know of.
Yeah, exactly. But this is kind of a backwards way of doing it. This is almost spinning that negative into a positive. You see, like we have all of it laid out, with the tacit undertone being, if you don't like any of it, maybe not call us.
It may not be for you.
But even then, modern treatments, it's even telling you modern treatments help those with the step before that. It tells you that modern treatments are generally doing those things. And
yeah, well, I think I would assume that the modern treatments include both the behavior modification and educational assistance rather than just the medication.
Right. It's a combination. It says it generally requires a combination of the following. So,
Yeah. I caught that modern keyword in there too. It struck me as kind of odd, as in versus leeches and bloodletting, or
or the way that I was raised with the issue. My attention's back. Sorry,
you were lucky enough to get the hand. I got a ruler.
Yeah, modern treatments. Otherwise, like you might go to some clinic and there's a plague doctor and they're waiting for you.
Yeah.
big bird mask.
Exactly, with a bee mask and everything.
Somebody who looks like Jack Elam.
Ah, yes, a new patient for me.
Jack Elam.
A new victim. I mean, patient.
How's that
Joe.
for a picture? That puts an image in your head, doesn't it, Joe?
Hey, yeah.
So then,
Here, let me get my KY ready.
oh,
Oh, what was that? Oh, anyhow, see what happens? We're-
so all right. So then, I like that you pointed out the modern. Maybe we should highlight that. Maybe find some way to connect modern to behavior modification and educational assistance in some way. Like find a way to connect those in inflection in some way, shape, or form. What do you think?
Modern treatments.
Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. So maybe downplay medication just a touch. Maybe? What do you all think?
Maybe
those are things that they can do, and you may not need all three of them, but it's a means of, we got to start somewhere with this and then see if we can't, as a last resort, is kind of the way that it has it put in there, that medication is kind of the last thing. We don't want to just, oh, you have that, here's a pill.
Here's some Ritalin.
Here's the pill.
Yeah. Maybe the modern's in there as just a short precursor to people who think they already know the treatments for ADD, and they're like, modern treatments are completely different. So
Yeah, it's a willow branch.
Yeah. It's a little branch. It's a yardstick from Lowe's.
Oh, those break too easy.
Yeah, they break too easy.
I'm going to stay out of this because I'll drag it out again.
All right,
What you,
all right.
what you don't want is that one that yardstick that unfolds. Those are horrible.
Oh, because they wrap around too.
Yeah,
Well-
don't ask for the game with the paddle ball. No. Just saying, no.
All right. So with all of that set up, now we leave. Now we've moved into the call to action. So how should we approach this last sentence? If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at blah yada 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 blah blah blah.
Now,
How
Frank
should we
was the
approach that?
only
Uh-oh. He's going to say Frank is the only one who
kind
said
of
stop
like
ADD.
that, as opposed to STOP ADD.
Mhm.
You
I-
dropped out there, Richard.
Yeah,
I saw it said unstable.
Good.
I'm
I knew
back.
exactly what to say.
But Frank, I like the way that you did the stop ADD. I mean, stop is only spelled STOP. I think it emphasized what the whole thing is about. We're 866 and we're going to stop ADD, and we're going to do it by helping you with these things.
And then if they do that, that's 1-866. That's STOP-ADD or 7867233.
Yeah, they would probably do it, once, stop ADD 1-866, and then they'll have the numbers.
And they'll have
They'll
it spelled out, and then they'll have the yeah.
Yeah, because they're
I
trying to
think
drill
that's-
it in your head.
That last part there, the call to action, I think it's a reassuring call to action. Hey, we've
I would
told you
agree.
this is kind of what we're doing. Here's what you can do and who you can get a hold of to get you on this road.
Okay, so if this is supposed to be a reassuring call to action, what's the kind of, I don't know, emotional or mental state you should approach this in? You should approach this with. Like, what should somebody listen and
Empathy.
think?
You're empathetic.
Okay.
If you or someone you love suffers from ADD, see, it's on the wrong line. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
I like that pause after ADD symptoms before the and. It's so like there's a missing comma there.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're right.
Yeah, you did it naturally, Richard.
Yeah. Yay, I did something right.
Well, I'm just glad you didn't go, if you or someone you love suffers from ADD.
I'm not going
And
Call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Yeah, we'll try to deliver that as salesy as possible afterwards.
Operators
If
are
you or
standing
someone
by.
you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD. That's 1-866-STOP-ADD. 1-866-STOP-ADD. 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Operators are standing by.
Yes,
That's
operators are standing by. Call now.
But wait, there's more.
Is it bad that I can look at the letter?
And the nonstick egg pan.
separate handling charge applies.
But wait,
Oh.
there's more.
Gee, I wonder if anybody in this group might need to call this number when we're done.
Dial in the next 10 minutes and you'll receive a second order free.
That's right.
You receive assistance a second time.
Yeah.
Two doctors
Off
for
your
the price
next
of one.
prescription.
The inflatopsychologist.
All right.
Yeah.
Back on track here.
I think just in a reassuring mode that this is all the stuff we've told you, and so now if you know anybody with this, we really want to help you, and here's where you can go to get that help.
Okay. I would absolutely agree.
Or at least the
I think that's-
information to get help.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think that kind of delivery is definitely going to depend on the individual actor. So, I mean, however you want to mark it up, however you want to try it, go for it.
Well, why don't you show us the way home, Richard?
Okay, I gotta go. I'm smelling duck. I heard the door open earlier.
All right. Well, let's hear it, Richard.
All right.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological and psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Okay. What did everybody think? Quickly. Well, we still got Richard in the closet.
Not enough emphasis on the back half of the first sentence.
Oh.
You kind of just sort of let the whole thing kind of go limp.
On the back, huh?
The treatment,
Well, we were
treatment-
talking about sort of like the first half of the first sentence is kind of a shrug, but then like treatment can usually help manage.
Gotcha. You're right.
And there was no
It
no
was all
emphasis on the second half.
on the
Yeah.
correct syllables. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was all read kind of in the same mode.
Tone, yeah.
It didn't
Yeah.
differentiate. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
That
Anybody
overall,
else?
I thought the feel was much more, much smoother. Like there was nothing that jumped out at me and said, "Oh, he didn't read the script before he read that."
Yeah. But it was very warm and fuzzy, like we care.
Uh-huh.
So
And
that's good.
relaxed.
All right.
It also seemed pretty relaxed.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and emphasize the positives on the second half of the first sentence and give it another go.
All right. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological and psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Okay.
Nice.
What
The,
did
o- the
everyone think?
only thing, and it's just nitpicky, is whatever, we're about halfway down where you go psychological or psychiatric treatments. You keep saying psychological and psychiatric treatment.
Oh, instead of an
But
or.
again,
Ah,
yeah.
fiddles.
That's very,
And you've
very
done it.
nitpicky.
You've done it on every single time you've read
I'll
that.
bet I have,
Part of the
because
line.
Yeah.
if I did it once, the brain put that and in there, it doesn't
Yeah.
see the or.
So, but like I said, that's very nitpicky. I like the call to action this time around. The first time you did it, like the last time, you didn't put that natural pause in after symptoms. This time you did, just like you had talked about doing, and it
Mhm.
sounded much nicer.
Okay.
So that was good.
Yay.
All right. So be careful of your psychological and psychiatric treatments.
Hey, Phil.
And why don't you go ahead and give us another read?
Okay. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Drop the mic, but don't, because it'll break it.
Yeah,
But
no,
drop
not
the
this one. No. Imaginary.
mic. And you said or.
I know. I was looking at the words this time.
I don't know, something funny crossed my mind. Imagine replacing all ors and ands, just flipping them. In this, that would make this completely different.
It would not be the same script. That's why they wrote it the way they did. All right. Anything? Thanks, Frank. Anybody else? I'm here to learn. We're here to get better.
If you and someone you love.
Exactly.
We're
I
guessing you married someone just like you.
Not gonna happen. I don't like me.
At least none of us read it as ad. Right? At least none of us read it as ad.
Yeah,
Yes.
at least.
Stop ad.
I considered it.
Well, there is currently no cure for ad.
Yeah, math is kind of universal.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't do
Um,
that subject in school either.
Personally, I still felt you put a little bit more emphasis on the beginning of the first sentence rather than the second half of the first sentence. That's what I heard.
Okay.
Again, that first one, that first part is supposed to be that sort of quick throwaway, like, yes, we're recognizing there's no cure for ADD, but we're offering treatments. Treatments can usually help manage symptoms.
Okay. You want me to do it again?
Yes, I do. All the way up until you have to eat that duck.
They haven't sent me a text yet, so I'm still good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're eating it on you. That's why.
That's why it's like, I'm
You're
smelling
gonna
it.
You're going to get the Pope's nose, and that'll be the end of it.
All right. While there is no cure for ADD,
Nope.
how about if I read a word that's there? Jiminy's. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Go get some duck.
7867333.
You've earned your duck.
Did I earn my duck? Yay!
You have absolutely earned your duck.
Okay, I'm going to go, fellas. It was great to pop in for a little bit. Sorry, but I'm going to go chow down now.
Make sure that duck isn't peeking.
That's right. Hi, Philip. Bye, Phil.
Thanks, Richard. Bye, Richard.
Alrighty then. So next was Dan.
That's correct. I didn't sleep because of my ADD. Oh, sorry. While there's currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage systems. Ooh. Let me start over. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD. That's 1-866-STOP-ADD. 7867233.
Alrighty then. What did you all think of that, Reed?
I thought it was reassuring in a kind of clinical way. Like you sounded like you might be a nurse or a doctor or something talking.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going for.
Yeah, it was kind of calm and reassuring, but not there weren't too many highs or lows, but it was in the range. That's just the way it struck me.
Yeah, no compassion.
No comparison.
Clinically reassuring. Yep.
That's right.
Compassion is hard to come by, especially when that's what I have to deal with. So,
Well, that got depressing quick. Let's see. Where can we improve this read?
I did catch, if I'm going to be nitpicky,
Do it.
On the first currently, maybe it's an accent issue.
currently,
Yeah, that's what I expected, but I think I heard currently.
well, there is currently.
Yeah, that's-
maybe.
Yeah.
But I think the first time I heard, I thought it was an audio glitch in Zoom, but I
But
think
you said currently.
currently, yeah,
Well, there is currently. I might have actually.
yeah. But I think when you said it the next
I
time,
was trying to skip ahead to cure maybe because I do that every once in a while.
yeah, I do that too. Yeah,
So, yeah, because you went, well, there is currently no cure.
Did I really?
So now you're dyslexic too. So,
Just swapped the two of those. Yeah, I caught that as well. I don't know. I can't really come up with anything other than I need a little bit more reassurance in
Or
this.
compassion.
A little bit more
a
compassion.
little more warmth.
Can you please be nice?
No.
Please.
Don't be so sterile. No, not so sterile.
Okay.
Don't be so laboratory.
Okay. While there is currently no cure for
There you go.
Do it.
it's the easiest way for me to get emotion out of my voice is when I do
Then
that.
do it.
Whatever. Do it.
And then I'll do it with a standard maybe after that.
Do it.
Yeah.
While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
All right. What did everybody think of that, Reed?
I actually, in a way, it was almost conversational.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's like, and I'm going to swell Dan's head here for a second. It's like the only thing that was missing was, all right. It was like Matthew McConaughey was doing an ad for Stop ADD. That's that. Honestly, you're about halfway through, and I'm thinking to myself, this is what Matthew McConaughey would sound like doing a commercial for ADD.
The relaxed reassurance.
Yeah,
It was good.
It was a relaxed conversational kind of thing that you'd see you'd hear a celebrity do on one of these, CBS Cares or whatever the case may be.
It's an interesting point when we fight our own like natural accent or what we grew up with, that your brain has to do more processing and
Oh, for sure.
takes something out of it. And sometimes the best read is just what your default mode is.
See, that's the problem, is I've actually defaulted to standard American with just that hint of accent.
Mm-hmm.
And it is completely emotionless pretty much. 90% of the time, that's one thing that somebody tells me. You literally have no compassion for anybody, do you?
Wow.
Yeah, no, well.
Dan is a cold, heartless man.
As he picks up the chickens and swings them like this by the neck. Next.
No, but
What do you mean?
for whatever reason, though, I've noticed the on-running trend that as you do sort of, what is it, revert, I guess, to your natural accent, to that accented voice, you do pull out a completely different style of read every time, and it does have a natural amount of life and energy to it. So I don't know, maybe it was because I know you mentioned that you went for coaching to get the neutral accent. Am I mistaken on that?
Yeah, I paid
Okay.
for.
Maybe it was something in that coaching that sort of gave you that neutral accent, but sort of sterilized the emotion. I'm not sure what it is, but every time you use your accent, it does give you a little bit more life, a little bit more character to your read.
Well, because the brain's not having to think about it and process it at that point.
Oh, I haven't.
I'm
had to-
guessing.
I haven't done that in freaking 5-10 years.
Well,
That was-
the
yeah.
less you process through something, apparently the better you read it.
Well, also what you could do is like sometimes I'll if I'm stuck on the delivery and I don't like it, I'll sing the whole thing, which just gets you out of your comfort zone.
Did that
and
last
then-
week.
And then go back. But for you, it might be easier. You might be able to just revert to your original accent
And then go back to natural.
and then
Good.
come back in and do it in neutral English and see how it comes out.
It usually comes out better, but not as good as the natural accent, which we've challenged before.
Hmm.
Go ahead and do it neutral.
Yeah.
While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like to get more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD. I said to get.
But you know what? I don't think a producer would even get nitpicky over that.
No, that seemed much brighter too.
Mm-hmm.
It did. It did. It did. But for whatever reason, the entire time I was thinking about this whole thing being sung with Gilligan's Island tune.
While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage the symptoms.
Anyways, no, that one was pretty good. That one was pretty good. You definitely incorporated a lot more of that emotion that we were talking about from your other read into this one. So
Actually, that's one of the things that I've started doing in my own auditions too, is I'll read it a couple of times neutral, then I'll read it with the emotional
accented.
and then I'll just go back to neutral again, which sometimes I can't get away completely from the accent, but
That's fine. It's part of who you are.
it does come out sounding pretty good. And then I just work on it a little bit more.
All right. So who was next?
Jojo.
Joe.
Yeah.
Joe. You're up.
While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
All right. What did everybody think of that one? Dan compassionate enough?
Joe.
I'm asking about you, Dan. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, was Joe compassionate enough?
Dan, do you care about me?
No, not one bit. I would definitely not be coming here if I cared about any of you people.
No, did Joe come off as compassionate enough? Did he fit all of the directions that we got? What did y'all think?
There was compassion there, but it was also. Sorry,
Force?
Joe. It was almost a little bit on the monotone to me.
Okay.
Like it was basically the same level all throughout. Like, even again, we've always talked about that first sentence. There was no difference from the first half to the second half. And then when you're going through the call to action, there were the right pauses in there in different places. But again, it just didn't seem like there was any change in inflections or anything like that. It was slight, but I thought there should be more, a little bit more change of inflection in a few places in that,
Okay.
just to give it a little more warmth or whatever.
More
You're talking
color.
about that last sentence, because that's what caught my attention. Was there was something missing out of there was almost, yeah, it sounded good, but it didn't sound real. That's why I meant forced a minute ago for that call to action.
Yeah.
That's I've run into this on other things where you get all the technical pieces correct,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not alive, I guess, is one way to put it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I wasn't sure how to say it, but
Oh, a Dan Reed.
I didn't read without the accent. Okay, yeah, that's a good note. So more levels, more color.
a little bit, a little more. Like, obviously, like we were joking around. You're not going to do it like, a Sunday car show kind of thing, but yeah, just a little more, zhuzh.
Okay,
All right, let's hear the zhuzh.
cool. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Much better.
Very
Yeah,
much.
much better. Yeah, and see, and I noticed that time when you were reading, you were like using your hands a little bit more and stuff like that, where I suspect the first time you just kind of had your hands, your fingers laced in front of you or something like that. And it really did add a little more when you were talking with your hands. So I like that. I mean, myself personally, I like that read much better than the first one.
Yeah.
Nitpicky over here.
Sure.
Always.
At the very end, when you did the and you'd like more information, you really hit that and a lot harder than I felt was necessary, because this isn't necessarily like what's being sold here isn't necessarily the treatments or cure for ADD. It's just the information. So while it might be a little bit difficult, I think that whole thing needs to go together. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, you see what I mean? I'd like to hear something more like that. I think it all needs to go together rather than that little comma that was there before. If you do put in a little break, try not to emphasize the and, because that's when you start going into salesy and you start losing the point of that sentence.
Yeah, the point is information. Yeah,
exactly. You're going for that information. That's the most important part.
Okay. You just want that sentence, or want the whole thing?
Let's just go for that sentence.
Okay. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline. Yeah, better?
Yeah, much better. Much
Yeah,
better.
I made information like a target instead.
Yeah.
Instead
How did
of
that feel to you, though, when you read it through it? Like, what did that feel like for you? Did that feel better, worse?
I still put like a little breath in there, but it wasn't the gigantic ellipses kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, you read it similar to the way Richard did, where he had that little comma there, and that actually it comes for you. The first couple of times you read it, it didn't sound like it would work for your read, but this time it came across where it was just keep on going. I got more coming.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. So in making information the target, you definitely hit it.
Okay.
Good job.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
It's good for a Joe read.
You want good for Joe. Wow.
It could have been better, but Joe did okay.
Someday I'll get paid for this.
Maybe one day. Hey, Joe, has anybody ever told you should consider voiceover?
No.
Oh, okay.
You have such a great voice, though. You'd be on those commercials and those cartoons and stuff. It'd be great.
Oh, you're the best guy that I've ever heard in my life.
Joe, are you on the radio? Has anybody ever told you should be on the radio? I don't know about you guys. I get that one all the time.
Yeah.
So
I don't. When I play my demos, I'm like, this is really you?
That's good. That's good. That's
Wait, this is good. Is that really you?
A short story. I've played like trailers and stuff for my wife, and she'll say, "Could you play it again? Because I didn't hear you." That one right there. She's like, "That's you."
Yeah, that voice that's currently talking. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's me.
Apparently, my speaking voice and my reading voice are completely different.
Well, people hear things differently. But anyway, back to voiceover.
Do you want to go, or is it Philip, or do you want Philip to jump in?
Well, Philip can go last. He needs to catch up on everything that we're talking about anyway.
Yeah, he needs the last bonus because he came in late.
Yeah.
So that means me then, I guess.
That means you, Frank.
All right. Well, there is currently no cure for ADD. Treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD. I hit an "and" in there someplace really hard.
Yeah, I'd also like for you to, just a real nitpicky thing. You didn't say add.
No, I said a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment. I hit that "and" really hard and it went all salesy on it. Sorry, guys.
Well, I mean, it actually sort of started off salesy. I really got salesy through with most of it.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It felt really like detached clinical.
Yeah, I was
In
going to
the
say,
read.
is that what you meant by my clip when you told me that I had a clinical read?
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, it felt very detached, clinical, like, I'm just the booming voice offering you information. I mean, of course, again, like I always say, if somebody else disagrees, please let me know. I'd like to hear, maybe, I'm not hearing it right, but that's at least what I got. Like, this is supposed to be very sensitive to somebody's situation, and I know we already went through all of this, but I didn't really get any of that sensitivity from that read.
Okay.
Did anybody else hear the same thing, or was it different for you guys?
No, I caught that too. It seemed detached. Not it seemed like you were being reassuring, but it wasn't. There was no. It was just.
There was no warmth.
Yeah, that's
No
the word.
fuzzy.
You didn't make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was Frank's voice, but not really Frank, if that makes
Right.
any sense. Like, it felt like you were very detached from what was going on.
Okay. Well, let's give it another shot. Maybe I can warm it up a bit.
Let's hear that good old Canadian warmth.
Yeah, this time of year we got none. Okay. Well, there is currently no cure for ADD. Treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD. Still clinically detached, wasn't it?
Well, what did everybody think?
It wasn't as bad as the first time, but it still seemed a little detached.
Definitely warmer. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a little bit warmer, but it still felt detached. Is there a reason you're punching can? Treatment can usually help manage symptoms.
No, not in particular. Just, I guess, because, it's just treatment can usually help manage symptoms.
Okay.
I'm emphasizing because, like, treatment will work, or treatment usually does work.
I'd like to hear you put more emphasis on help manage. Treatment
Yeah.
can usually help manage symptoms.
Okay. Well, there is currently no cure for ADD. Treatment can help. Well, there is currently no cure for ADD. Treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Am I reading it too slow? Am I reading it too fast? Like, what's a suggestion you might have to
speed is
warm it up a little bit?
The speed is
Well, yeah, it's not the speed. I think it's how you're ending off the sentences. Every single one sort of cuts off. And even in the middle of things, like, this generally requires a combination of the following. When you say that, it usually cuts off, like, with a down note. And whenever you end a sentence with a down note, it's very much so like, and we're moving on to the next thing. This is just a what am I trying to? How am I trying to say?
Okay, yeah. So it's almost like that when you hear those British moderators talk.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
or like
So,
you're
like,
reading.
this generally requires a combination of the following. Where the way that you would deliver it was, this generally requires a combination of the following.
Okay,
You see how that comes off
Yep.
a little bit more clinical than
I
what?
get you.
Yeah,
I get you.
so
Yeah.
I guess the best way I can put it is make all the endings flow into the next sentence instead of just cutting them off each individually.
Okay. Let's see here. Well, there is currently no cure for ADD. Treatments can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Okay? What did everybody think of that one?
Brighter. You're going up like one notch each time.
Give me 100 tries.
It needs to get
Generally-
to a 6.
Yeah, generally
what?
that one had a little bit more. That one definitely had more heart than your first read
Yeah.
here, and that's that you're definitely improving on it. There's
Maybe-
just the je ne sais quoi in there.
Maybe-
It's hard to.
Maybe it is a speed thing. Maybe if you
You think
slow
so?
just a hair,
Slow down.
slow
Okay.
down just a tad. I feel like now it's kind of barreling forward and it doesn't need to. I mean, I don't know if this is a 30 or a 15. If it's a 30,
Well,
there's
at 8 to 15, that's for darn sure.
plenty of time if it's a 30, right? So
Could be a 30, could be a 45.
yeah, yeah. So maybe treat it like a 30 or 45 and just take your time with it, and maybe put some music in the background, or think about what else is going on in the commercial, because I'm sure there's something else in the spot, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there currently is no cure for ADD. Treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Okay. What did everybody think?
I can't put my finger on it. I really can't. Oh, it's definitely a radio commercial. I've actually heard this commercial before.
Yeah, this one's definitely radio.
Oh.
With the way it's written, it's most certainly radio.
Okay.
FYI.
I can't put my finger. I can't
FYI.
put my finger on it. I'm sorry.
I like that one better. Actually, I thought that if this was a commercial for depression, I would want to listen to you, because you sounded at least
Depressed?
happy. You sounded happy. No, you sounded happy and hopeful, at least in that one. So
Yeah, don't worry. It wasn't reassuring. It was relatable.
yeah, it was
Or
really,
other way around. It wasn't relatable. It's reassuring. That's what I meant to say.
yeah. I don't know. I like that one better than the others.
I did too. I'm just, there's something, I can't put my finger on it. It's in that middle sentence. This generally requires.
The problem sentence.
Yeah. Are you?
Well, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, if you think you might be able to spot something in here Frank could change, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. We'll see if we can let him know next time he's around.
Please.
I think it's because it sounds like the behavior modification is running through the treatment. Behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment. It's like you're running through that whole sentence without actually bracking it off, like we were discussing. Maybe that's I'm lost. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No,
think
that's fine.
I think Frank needs some duck.
I think
Frank also needs some duck.
All right. Well, I will try it one more time if you guys are cool with that, and
Yeah.
then I will give
Yeah,
it over
go
to
for it.
to you, Michael.
Okay.
Well, there is currently no cure for ADD. Treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD. I hit and. I know that. I recognize that. So it's the radio guy in me.
Next
Well,
up,
then
hits from Foreigner.
That's right.
Generally, like you've smoothed it out and you give it a lot more of a bright tone to it. So I mean,
Yeah.
I
And now
actually
on our-
like that read too.
And now in our top 40 country weekend, it's Patsy Cline and Crazy.
all right.
Oh, I'm going to get sued for that one, probably.
Alrighty then.
Okay, Michael, it's all yours.
While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Cheater.
Why don't you show me the way?
I've got a just something I'd like to hear. What is it? The zone thing? You're in which zone? You're in the closest zone to the mic, right?
I couldn't quite tell. I was sort of delivering on a zone 2, but I was sort of in zone 1 range.
You're like at 1.5.
Yeah, I was like at
You want
1.5.
zone 3.
I'd say
Zone 3.
Yeah, I want to hear it from across the stadium. No, but I would say maybe back off one zone and project a little bit more. Would give it a slightly different feel, because I liked a lot of it, but I thought it was a little bit whispery.
Okay. Well, I am in a whisper room, so.
It whispers to you too? Does your room talk to you? Is it whispers?
No, not a whispering room, a whisper room.
Yeah, it's not like your room, Dan.
Darn.
All right. So I'll go ahead and try it again at zone 2. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. I don't know why that threw me off. All right. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD. I felt like I was going a bit too fast.
I don't know if you're going too fast. It's not that. I liked it. It sounded very good. You have, what's his name? That fellow that was on that one time here as a guest. Big guy, the dreadlocks. What's his name?
Dave Fenoy.
Yeah. But he was on here on the mic check. Not Fenoy.
Everett Oliver.
Everett Oliver. You've got that kind of muddy SoCal sound when you're talking. No, but I mean that's what he said, and that's why this sounds good when you're doing it, because I think that muddiness gives you a warmth, whereas where I'm from, because I'm Canadian, we tend to be more where we pronounce every syllable and all that sort of thing.
More. You enunciate more.
Enunciation, and maybe that's why it's not coming off as warm when I read it, because we clip more and we more enunciate, whereas I said, when you kind of muddy through it a little more, it naturally makes it sound warmer. It's just the region that you're from.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that has always sort of stuck out in my mind is, maybe we have, whatever weird issues with your reads that we can't quite place, but it could be totally fine, like perfectly fine for the market in Canada, because, obviously Canadian people speak differently than American people. Like you said, there's more enunciation. We're down here in America, we like to muddy things up just a little bit.
Yeah, well, exactly. And when I say that, please don't misunderstand. I'm not trying to put you down, or I'm not trying to make fun of you, or no. I was talking to Michael.
I get it. Yeah, it's just pointing out a difference. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. And I'm just making fun of that difference.
In this case, with this script, it does lend it more warmth, because everything, like you were trying to tell me, like make one sentence flow into the next. And you just naturally can do that. You don't even have to think about it because of the way that you talk. Whereas for us, things are more clipped at the end of every sentence. There's every syllable, if there's a T, it's a T. It's not T. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It just naturally sounds warmer when you do it.
So what I'm trying to do whenever I specifically with this script is I'm trying to keep in mind if I were suffering from this, if I had this issue, what would I want to hear, to help reassure me? So I usually try to work off of that. What would I be listening for specifically? So if it's supposed to be read with compassion and reassurance, I think of somebody with some confidence and some knowledge about what they're talking about, but also understanding that maybe whoever's listening is not in the best frame of mind, So that was my approach for it, personally.
A lot of these ads like this are usually targeted to the parents of children that
Yeah.
are starting to notice problems. I guess that'd be the best way to think about it, is if you're the parent of that kid instead of just being yourself. Because for me, this is, to me, it's garbage. But pardon my, that's not true. But to me, it's I can't relate to understand why people can't figure it out for themselves, because that's what I had to do. So I guess that's why I lose the compassion with it.
Well,
But if it was my kid, I might be a little more,
a little more inclined to
right, to listen, to understand.
Well, however you want to approach it, that's just my frame of mind. Was if I was suffering through something like this and I needed to listen to, I was looking for some kind of answer, what would be the most reassuring sound to me? So that's what I try to emulate whenever I do these different reads. But was there anything that maybe I should change? I should try differently besides the sound thing?
Honestly, no. I really liked it, and I like Joe's suggestion you backing off, because you're not as whispery when you move back into like 2.5, maybe something like that, and you put a little more volume into your voice. You actually don't sound as I don't know. You sound warmer somehow. The other way you sound warm.
I sound like
when
you were trying to
you're
tell a
close.
secret.
But you're not trying to tell a secret, or you're not trying to be like, listen, I don't want to freak you out here, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I default to one,
like
and I need to.
baritone kind of sound. More your natural baritone comes out when you back off a little. Yeah.
Okay.
So all in all, I like that read, Michael. I thought it was very, very good. I wouldn't change anything.
On that second read it was fantastic. I didn't hear anything where I was like, huh?
Yeah. And kudos to you, Joe, for picking up on that zone thing.
Yeah, just struck me that way, and I went, maybe it's just a mic closeness thing rather than a delivery issue. Yeah.
You the man.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Philip,
Phil.
what have you learned from all of this, young Mr. Song?
You should be perfect right out of the gate.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. Oh boy. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatments, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
All right, so we're not gonna tear that read apart, because that was your first, and that's okay, even though you had the luxury of listening to all of us first. I'm just kidding.
Speak for yourself, Michael. I'm going to rip him a...
I was gonna say, okay, so after that read, after you get that out of your, after you get that out of your system, let's go ahead and talk about, just overview, the things that we had discussed with this script in particular. So, starting with the first sentence, we agreed that the first half of that first sentence before the comma is mostly a throwaway thing, a shrug, sort of like, yes, we understand that we're not trying to cure ADD, but we can offer you help. So the second half of that sentence needs to be a brighter and more reassuring tone. You see what I mean? Like at the beginning, it's like, okay, While there's currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms.
Mhm.
So brighten up on that last half because that's what you're selling.
Okay.
Modern treatments, we agreed that modern requires a little bit more emphasis. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. So we put a little bit of emphasis on help and control. This generally requires a combination of the following. So don't end that because that's not the end of an idea. All right. This generally requires a combination of the following. You're going to be moving into something. We all agreed that behavior modification, educational assistance, and medication are the main focuses of that list. So if you are marking it down or mark it up in your mind, we put a parentheses around and other psychological or psychiatric treatment because that's more of an aside. So it would come off as something like behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment. Then back up, educational assistance and medication. So obviously you're talking about what these programs have to offer. And then this call to action is supposed to come from a place of compassion and of reassurance. Like you want people to think, okay, this person is on my side. So if you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms, you understand you want to help them out. But this is where a little bit of the challenge comes in. The main goal of that first half of the last sentence is information. You want to try to make it to that point. Because we were having a few reads stop after ADD symptoms. So it would be, if you or someone you love suffer from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, the goal would be, if you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, try to get it all together if you can. And apparently we've just sort of been defaulting to stop ADD rather than STOP ADD.
Yeah.
So that's the general idea of what we got from the script. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. So now we go into the reads where we do get to rip you a new one. Go for it.
Okay, sure. While there's currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy. Oh my gosh, I'm slurring with this. All right, pick up. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Okay, opening it up. What did everybody think?
I think all those stumbles is because you're trying to go a little too fast.
Yeah.
And going that fast, you kind of lose the heart behind the script. Of course, we all know that you have heart, Philip. Don't worry about that. But my first thing would be slow it down a little bit. Don't try to. Don't. You're not going to stumble over your words if you slow down. Michael taught me that. Because I also tend to read a little fast. You all know that.
I used to have a Post-it note on my pop shield that just said slow. It's like a once you get into it, you just barrel through, and it's like, wait, I'm not reading anymore. I'm just throwing out words. So yeah, I'd say slow down, and then I think just for the next take, just take it a little slower. Yeah,
I'd agree. So Phil, whenever you're ready, go for it.
While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Maybe there's a problem with the script. I think I should put a J after D in medication. Medication.
Oh, God. Medication. Educational assistance and medication.
That's medical education.
Yeah, medication. There you go. That's fine. That's fine.
I liked it better. It flowed better, and I think you hit a lot of points that we discussed.
And it actually sounded like you cared about the person you're talking to. A little bit.
One thing that I noticed is when you got to this generally requires a combination of the following, you went from a down note, this generally requires a combination of the following, to an up note, this generally requires a combination of the following. When I think if you just went right in the middle, this generally requires a combination of the following.
Okay.
Probably would be the golden spot for you.
All right. All right. So something like this generally requires a combination of the following.
Not that deadpan.
Yeah, not so deadpan, but the ending on following shouldn't have an up or a down emphasis. This generally requires a combination of the following. Maybe a slight down, but we want to try to stay more in the middle of your tone instead of ending on an up sweep of the following or on a full down sweep, of the following, like just right in the middle of the following.
Okay. Maybe this will help. Okay. So from the top?
From the top.
All right. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatments, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
All right. What did everybody think?
Much smoother.
That was a nice, smooth. Nitpicky, he accented the or in attention spans or high energy levels, but other than that.
Oh, right. Control their weak attention or...
Yeah, in fact, you want to cut that emphasis in half and move it to both sides of the or.
All right. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Give it one more go.
All right. While there is currently no cure for ADD, treatment can usually help manage symptoms. Modern treatments help those with ADD control their weak attention spans or high energy levels. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatments, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
So in the list, you really hit and hard before medication.
Yeah, I was...
Educational assistance and medication. Oh, of course, that was overblown, but still, you hit and really
That
hard.
wasn't really, not really. Educational assistance and medication. No, well, that was overblown.
All right.
Yeah, that was overblown, but it was just an example of, you hit the and there probably a little harder than you should have. Was there anything from anybody else?
I like the rest. I thought
The rest was great.
he hit all the pieces. Yeah.
And he died at Stop ADD. When you were doing the phone number, you went, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Always remember, put the finish line long after the final period.
All right, you got it.
So why don't you just start from behavior modification to the end?
All right. This generally requires a combination of the following: behavior modification, behavior modification and other psychological or psychiatric treatment, educational assistance, and medication. If you or someone you love suffers from ADD symptoms and you'd like more information, please call the ADD hotline at 1-866-STOP-ADD.
There you go.
That
That's it.
like it.
Yes!
You
All
done
right.
it.
Yay!
Woo!
Like,
Yeah, I need a soundboard in here or something. Start playing cool sound effects. And by cool, I mean absolutely annoying. Anyway,
One of those air horns. Beep, 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 beep.
yeah, imagine how annoying that would be if I actually had a full-on air horn just right at the microphone. I think that would probably be the end of the mic check at that point. All right, now that we're done peaking audio, this is going to be, go ahead and I think this is a good place to end. I don't know what I was talking about before. I don't know where I was going with that one. Again, if my words are not written down for me, I can't even talk. All right, everybody, thank you very much for attending. All of you who are watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Once again, if there's something that you noticed about any of these, we'd love to hear it in the comments. So please, down below. Also, make sure to check the description for how you can join us and hit the subscribe button and that bell notification to know whenever one of these comes out. Spoiler alert, it's every week. All right, everybody, you have a good evening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Join us every Monday for free script practice. You can also find the Mic Check on Facebook and Twitter. If you liked what you saw, then subscribe for more.